topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome. Good to have you with us. I'm Bill Martinez, and happy Holy Week to you. Over the weekend, we enjoyed a Passover on the 12th and 13th. So happy Pesach for our Jewish friends. And for the Christians, it is the Holy Week, the week before the crucifixion of Jesus that will happen on Friday, Good Friday coming up. And then, of course, Easter Sunday, a real special time spiritually, for our country at a time when we really need it. I often refer to Charles Finney, who once commented that, revivals happen when they're most needed. And a lot of people believe that now is the time that our country needs a revival. But you've also heard me say that before we get to a revival, we've got to come into the realm of repentance. And repentance happens when we draw nigh to God and we understand just how awesome He is, how merciful He is, and in many ways, how unworthy we are to be loved by Him, for all that He's done for us. But until we get to that point where we are drawing nigh to God and wanting to straighten out our lives, so to speak, and you've got to come to that point. Sometimes people refer to it as hitting bottom, right? You hit bottom enough and you say, okay, who's going to save me, from this mess that I got myself into? And if you've lived long enough, you realize, well, it's not necessarily your parents, not yourself or the government, that it takes something supernatural. It takes something outside of this realm that we're aware of on this side of heaven. I say that in my terms because of my experience and acknowledgement of where I am spiritually. But each one of us has that choice and opportunity. You have it as long as you're breathing. And maybe something that is being said, will connect with you in such a way. You say, okay, hey, really, it makes some sense. As some people sometimes find themselves to say, look at, why shouldn't I give it a chance, right? Why should I continue on in my own stubborn sort of ways? And some people say, hey, I thought I'd try that God thing, Okay, well, that's good. However, God can handle it. God has a sense of humor. You want to call it that God thing. That's okay. Just long as it gets you on track. And then you realize, okay, in our country, we talk about liberty and freedom, but until you really acknowledge and get to that point where you really can have ears to hear and eyes to see who God is and what it's all about, and you come into His peace and freedom, oh man, it's a whole different world. And don't feel like you're some sort of knucklehead, and that somehow, you're less than intelligent and that. Jesus hung around with 12 guys for 3 years of His ministry. And at times, you see and can appreciate how frustrating it must be for him because, hey, the guys aren't getting it. No matter what, after He's shown them everything and explained to them and taken time, it wasn't going to be until after Jesus was crucified and they started looking back at all the historical data and historical scripture and the ancient words of prophets and that they start, and all of a sudden their eyes were opened up to see what's going on and realizing, and that's what happens as Christians. And though there's a lot of push right now against people of faith, it's okay. We were told that this was going to happen. And I would say to you, just as Jesus said, pick up your cross and follow Him. And understand this, we all have crosses. Nobody is excluded, okay? We all have crosses. It's just, are you going to choose to pick up your cross or not? If you choose to pick up your cross, then the reality of eternity and the reality of what Jesus did for us on Good Friday on to Easter Sunday when the grave was empty, this starts to become real. And it's a whole different dynamic altogether, if you're ready for that. And right now, and I was talking with a dear friend this past week about picking up your cross, and that the fact that we all have crosses to bear here, right? And and crosses can be defined in many ways. It could be an addiction of some sort. It could be gender confusion. Okay, however way you want to align with it, because who's going to answer that? I mean, we've got doctors, all the king's horses, all the king's men, trying to put Humpty Dumpty and his pronouns back together again. Ain't happening. Okay, because we're fighting, I believe, natural law. God didn't create us this way. He didn't create us to be confused. But we all have a cross to bear, and it's what you choose to do. If you pick up that cross, you're going to work through whatever it is, whatever predilection that you may be dealing with. It could be sex, drugs, rock and roll. I mean, go right on down the list. We all have it. And individually, these are our crosses to bear. And my prayer is, again, because even your show host has a cross that he's been bearing, okay? And you read in the scripture in the New Testament where Paul even talked about his cross, he referred to it as a thorn. He says, oh, and I prayed many times that God would take that thorn away. And no, God needed Paul to deal with that thorn, just like he needs us to deal with the thorns or the crosses that we must bear. But therein lies the opportunity, because in going through that process, you will know God. As the word says, he who knows their God will do mighty things. And the thing is, it's not about doing the mighty things, because when you know God, maybe other people will say that's mighty, but you don't think of it in terms of it being a mighty thing. You just think of it in terms of, hey, I'm getting to know God, and you know what? I want to know him more. And hopefully the 40 days of Lent that you've been experiencing, that's what it's caused you to do, is to want to know God more and draw closer to him, because truly God has the answers for all these things that we're dealing with. These wars that we're dealing with. It could be family disruptions and arguments. As I mentioned, this sexual confusion, and you got these people who are, they're experimenting on our children. I mean, all based on a theory, and on the surface it sounds good, because even the church is doing this. Church, we need to have compassion, for these people. Well, I understand. But you got to understand, when you start doing damage to people, you're no longer compassionate. You're absolutely evil. So we got to know where, you got to know where compassion begins, where it ends. And when it starts to do harm, it's no longer compassionate. It's no longer merciful. And so you get people based on theories. And it's interesting that these doctors and these theorists will come up with this idea. Well, we'll just carve out, body parts. Oh, really? You're going to carve out body parts off of young people, young girls. I mean, some pre-teens, early in the teens. And now that this has been going on, and I know that some of you might be surprised to understand, it's been going on for over a decade. Okay? It's just it's been out there. It's been in the shadows. Now it's coming forth. They're talking about it. And so then you say, okay, you've had 10 plus years to experiment on our kids. What's the data? I mean, what's the success record here that you've done this, and you got these kids that were gender dysphoric, and now they're living wonderful lives, and they're just happier and all get out. They're all fulfilled and everything. No, it's quite the opposite. They're even more confused, and they don't want to talk about this, because this is the nature. You can always tell when people are lying to you. They want to keep things in the dark. They don't want to give you the whole truth and nothing but. And the thing is so amazing to me about this is that you'll have authorities, people in authority position that you've respected heretofore, whether it's people in the church, teachers, the educational system, and particularly education. I mean, it's just gone amok. And some of these in some of these cities and their local governments, that will say, look at if you disparage, if you go against your child, what we determine your child's wishes are. Okay, this is outside of the parents. These are other adults who have decided that your child needs a sex reassignment surgery, and you're out of it. And if you disagree, or even before then, if you disparage their pronoun, well, then you can go to jail, not collect $200. You're just going to go straight to jail. This is how insane this is happening. Now, you may say, well, this isn't happening in my neighborhood or zip code, but you know what? It's happening in America. It's happening in your country. And like everything that we should have learned in the previous 4 years, as I say, and you often hear me reminding you, experience defines preference. Also, experience defines and demonstrates what the government is willing, what extent they're willing to do. I mean, here we still don't have the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but regarding COVID, right? Including where it originated. I think people all suspected, common sense would have told you where it originated. But health forces, even outside of our country, World Health Organization, determined certain protocol. And if you were in violation, or if you were suggesting something other than what the World Health Organization said, then you're going to be put on timeout. We were being put on timeout so much, I was getting, ready to have monogrammed handcuffs all the time, because I said, okay, hey, I got my own. I brought them. I'm used to being in social media jail. And what they did is they quieted the voices of reason. They quieted the voices that would have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Think about it. I mean, here in America alone, those deaths that were associated with COVID totaled over 1 million people. Now, I get it. I mean, those numbers are kind of goofy because, as we know, and we knew it early on, and some of this truth is coming out, is that anybody that died during the COVID years, even if you were run over by a truck or there was something other than what was COVID, they just said it was COVID. For the reason being is that greed took over, and people will do that which they get rewarded for. And the government said, hey, look at, the more COVID deaths, the better. And we're going to pay you more for a COVID death versus somebody just got ran over by a truck or choked on something at dinner. Nope, it had to be COVID. Yep, that's it. Run those COVID numbers up, scare the heck out of people because everybody need to get vaccinated. And now what are we finding out about the vaccinations? And of course, then you get the people on the left, because Robert Kennedy is representing some voice of reason that is getting through the clutter and saying, wait a minute, we need to look at this stuff. But they want to present Robert Kennedy Jr. as somebody who is some wacko that hates all vaccines. He didn't say that. All he's saying is, look, if we're going to vaccinate our kids, there should be, like the consent of the governed, there should be the consent of the patient. We should know and be knowledgeable about, about all the ramifications. I was speaking with one doctor earlier this week, and he said, even when you go to a doctor's office and they prescribe something, ask the doctor, if they have inside or the documentation of what is involved with the medication that they're suggesting that you should take. And you'd be shocked. Some doctors don't have it, which is ridiculous. They should have it, or they just don't want it or too lazy to give it to you. But before you consume that, I suggest that even when you go to the pharmacy and and this is what this doctor was saying to us, that even before you start taking that medication, is that, you need to be informed, right? And knowledge is power. So read what is in the box, because in the box are all these exceptions, all these things that could happen when you take this medication. But see, we're so used to, in this hurry up world we live in, and it's a wonder, by God's grace and mercy, that more of us have not died because we just get in a hurry. And we don't want to take the time to look into things like medicine that we take. I mean, really think about it, how trusting we've been. But one thing we should have learned in the previous 4 years in the era of COVID, we can no longer trust. We already knew we couldn't trust our government, right? And all the 3-letter agencies, right? They were all suspect. And we're finding out more and more that's the case. I mean, look at all the great work that Doge is doing. And just watch who's freaking out, okay? Because you can tell the scoundrels, they're the ones that are screaming and yelling the worst and the loudest and making up lies and all kinds of added deception to confuse and take you away from what's most important. The fact of the matter is that all the hard-earned taxpayers of America have been ripped off. They're being ripped off, even as we speak, and it's going on for a long time. I mean, what's this that I had here? Some of the Doge, I mean, there's just so much information coming out of Doge. The money that they found, it's hard to, it really is hard to keep up with it all because it's endless. And it's even diabolical because this isn't by accident. People have been doing this on purpose. They've been ripping us off. Elon Musk and the Doge team, this is according to Gary Bauer, recently audited the unemployment system at the Department of Labor. Once again, they were stunned by the waste and fraud they discovered. Now, here's what they found. This is the Department of Labor. 24,500 people over 115 years old received $59 million in unemployment benefits during the Biden-Harris years. Okay, can you get your brain around that? $59 million. This is your hard working money during the Biden years. Remember during those years when everything, our cost of living went up by 20% and we were scrambling? I mean, every month. And we didn't have enough paycheck to go through the entire month. But these scoundrels were ripping us off. $59 million as we're, paying more for gas, inflation going through the roof. And this is happening. Merrily we go along. The Democrats, Joe Biden, they could care less. Nobody said anything about it. In a general sense, they may have uttered, you might find a soundbite where, oh yeah, we got to do something about this waste. Well, look at waste and fraud and corruption in our government has been going on for decades. This hasn't happened just in the 4 years of Joe Biden. But this is just to give you a comparison. 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old. Okay, 1 and 5 years old got $254 million in benefits. Now, there might be some legitimacy to those because there might be a child whose parent may have passed and there might be some social benefit. But that's something we should look into, right? $254 million in benefits. How much of that is legit? Or is it like so much of what we've seen here is just, it's just something they're taking care of their constituents or, paying off somebody here. 9,700 people with birth dates over 15 years in the future. You see, when you start looking at this stuff and you go, first of all, you say, oh, Bill, come on, these numbers are looks. But then what makes it all bad is then you start seeing, okay, 15 years in the future, you got 9,700 people. They got $69 million in benefits. Okay, this system is rigged, right? I mean, they're packing the ballot box here, so to speak, against hardworking Americans. Now, this stuff is unsustainable. I mean, the Democrats are always saying, oh, Republicans are going to take away your Social Security and your Medicaid and all your benefits and everything like that. Well, Democrats are doing this by default and purpose. They're doing this on purpose. They've been doing this for a long time. And whoever has been doing this, I believe, should be subjected to the full force of the law and the circumstances and consequences that go with it. This is absolute stealing from us. Okay. Now you imagine 15 years in the future. And then there's someone with a birthday in the year 2154 That's 129 years from now. They got 41,000. I mean, this is so absurd. But this is our government, and this is the kind of thievery that is all taking place. And reacting to the discovery, as you can imagine, Elon Musk, I mean, he has said this many times, said, wow, I thought it was bad, but it's worse than bad. This is happening to you and me, ladies and gentlemen. Hardworking taxpayers just want the best for our families, best for our country. And we've got people in the government that are a bunch of pigs. They're just greedy pigs, taking advantage and stealing from us. Okay. And the thing is, going back to what we were talking when we first opened the show, is this is the impact of sin. Because you think, oh, it's just a little bit, it's just a minor deal. Well, one thing begets another, and here you are. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars. I mean, Elon Musk initially looked at this and said, yeah, I think we can save the government at least $1 trillion. Actually, I think he could do a lot more if we had some cooperation. But, here the people are squealing the loudest. And they're not offering one bit of positivity, one bit of an idea that says, hey, we need to look over here. Or, hey, we need to come along and help you, shoulder the pressure on all this that's going on. I mean, their silence and lack of participation really speaks of, possibly their implication, even if it's a passive sort of way, because either you're part of the solution or you are part of the problem, either active or passively, right? And shame on the politicians. And I say this across the board because there are a couple of Republicans that they're not really appreciating the seriousness of all this. And meanwhile, you say the Democrats are so quick to say, oh, they're going to take away your Social Security. I'll tell you, it's the people that are stealing from you. They're the ones that are taking away your Social Security. All right. And the people that are stealing from you, let's go all the way back to the mid 60s when Lyndon Baines Johnson took, unopened the lockbox. We had a lock on that box that you can't touch that money. That belongs to the people. But, the Democrats, they find a way. They find a way to get into the coffers, and they've had a heyday. And they just keep putting IOU slips in the box. But nobody pays anything. They don't pay anything. Okay, it just keeps on going, and they figure, I'll live out my life. I'll die. They'll have a big, state party for me and funeral service and everything like that. And my family will, continue to draw benefits from my service to the country. I served this country so hard. Look what I did, right? You got to be kidding me. You served yourself. That's what you did. But look at, if we don't have a conscience and we don't have, a moral compass, we leave ourselves vulnerable, ladies and gentlemen, for this kind of activity. And nobody wins on this. I mean, this is not good for those, the people who steal. How do you sleep at night? And at some point, it's going to catch up with you. And maybe you're dead and gone. Maybe it doesn't catch up with you directly, but it catches up with your family. That's what you want to leave for your kids, your grandkids? Oh, yeah, grandpa, man, he's president of the United States, or he was a senator for the United States. And here we're finding out after the fact. That's if we can. But these people, and I say these people in government, they're real good at hiding and keeping everything's in the shadow. And, for so long, they were able to get away with, in, the spirit of invalidation. They would just say, oh, Bill Martinez out of his mind. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. And don't even pay attention to him. He's just some crazy Mexican, right? But look, it's obvious. And that's why they're so upset about Doge and what Elon Musk is doing. And they just want him out of there as fast as they can in any way possible. And the fact that there's even suggestions that they would hurt him. This is a father. He's got children. He's got family. He's got a business. And what is he doing? For free. For free. He comes in as a servant of the people, offering his services. The giftings and talents that he's been blessing with, he pays it forward to us. And he offers his services to say, hey, and on top of that, he puts a team of equally minded, service-oriented individuals who want to do something about the problem. And beyond being smart, I appreciate their heart. I appreciate that they're servant oriented and they want to serve us, we the people. Now, I don't see Bernie Sanders. I don't see, Al Sharpton. I don't see the Obamas, sending over anybody to help with the heavy lifting and participating in this. Interesting, huh? Think about it. I mean, this is a us problem. And they want to look at it as, us against them. That's their problem. We don't need to deal with that. Well, of course, you've been at the trough of the people's treasury, and you've been getting fat and sassy along the way. In a time when you can offer something, say what you want to say about Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't taken a salary. Okay. 4 years, didn't take a salary, gave it back. Here again, he's less than 100 days that he's been in office, doesn't take a salary, gives it back. He's here to serve. And I know for some people, it's, anything that has to do with Trump, their teeth are chipping and they get angry. I mean, you just watch. I mean, wow, the look on their face can turn so dramatically when the topic of Trump comes about. It's like, man, I feel for you because you're getting eaten up on the inside out. And then on top of that, you got other that are out there. It's a minority of people, but they're quite dangerous. Talking about assassinating, whether it's Musk or the president, making statements like, oh, the thing I regret most is that the attempted assassin in Butler, Pennsylvania wasn't successful. Wow. This kind of rhetoric is very dangerous. And it puts I want to say a color, a filter on our society that thinks that, we become, we've been saying this for years. We've become a culture of death on many levels. We can talk about abortion and go on and on about that. But we are. I mean, this is all a manifestation of a mindset that says, hey, it's okay. It's okay to kill, steal, and destroy. Oh my gosh. Who does that remind you of? Yeah, the devil does exist. And that's his holy trinity of his own consciousness, to steal, kill, and destroy. And there's a party in our country that has embraced those three elements. They're not up in arms about abortion. And think about it, 40% of those babies that are aborted are Black. You're kidding me. And you want to talk about slavery? You want to talk about these? You're killing innocents in the womb. All right. And where is Al Sharpton? Where are the Obamas? And I use them only because they are figures within the Black community that I believe could make a difference. Do they go to Chicago and talk to these kids and encourage them to say, hey, you can pick yourself up by your bootstraps. This is a great country. You've got great opportunity that's available for you if you will just get your act together and grow up and be responsible. Okay. This is about self-responsibility. It's not about anybody else being responsible for you, because it is your life. It's not Barack Obama's life, not Michelle Obama's life. It is your life. But they need to be encouraged. These young kids need to be encouraged, and they need mentors. They need people like the Obamas who can speak to that culture, speak to that part of society. And they could do something incredible. I mean, you have Jimmy Carter, for example. Say what you want to say about Jimmy Carter. And I didn't appreciate his presidency. But what I appreciated afterwards was that he went to work in servicing people and worked with Habitat for Humanity, building homes, helping build communities. This is a former president of the United States. Wasn't in there, and he wasn't out there when he was doing that. He wasn't passing a hat looking for, whatever he could do for his own foundation and build up his coffers with lots of money that he could never spend for the rest of his life. But we got too many politicians who are doing that. See, it's all part of that greed quotient that I'd mentioned to you earlier. And greed causes us to do things that do not make us proud. And it impacts our society. So these are just some of the things that we need to consider in this Holy Week and how we need to reconcile and truly get this country back on track. It's not just, yes, we got a little bit of a break in terms of Donald Trump, people of faith, because I mean, here he is in announcing Holy Week. Man, he sounded very evangelical, and as opposed to the things that Joe Biden and the Biden administration did, and this came from a practicing Catholic, supposedly, the things that he would do that would dishonor. I mean, he would honor other things other than Easter. And you're going, wait a minute. Here is the most consequential holiday on the calendar that impacts over 1 billion people. And you kick Jesus to the curb. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable, the kind of things that have been going on and the disrespect, towards our religion, telling pastors, oh, you can't give a sermon. Pastors in the military, you can't give a sermon in the military. You can't talk about Jesus. That's offensive. Oh, you want to know what offensive is? I don't think you want to know at that exact moment in time when it's too late and you find out who you really are offending and how offensive you've been. I pray that there's something here that connects with you because, we all need one another. It's not just about me. It's not just, about one person. It's all of us coming together. This is what I love about this great country. It's why I went to serve in the Marine Corps. My dad served in the Army. My brother, second oldest brother in the Army. My oldest brother was career in the Air Force. We believed in the principles, the founding principles. I say the first principles that we must return to. And those first principles are found, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago. We got to go all the way back to the beginning. I mean, very soon here, we're going to be celebrating our 250th anniversary of this country, of the Constitution. Think about it. How incredible. We've been way so blessed beyond, I say, what we deserve. Because unfortunately, with all the blessings that we've been given, we weren't given these blessings so that we could hog them up and use them all ourselves. I mean, it's just stuff that's going to vapor. It's all very temporal. And we've kind of abused the blessings and misappropriated it instead of being blessed and then being a blessing. I know there's some things, that we've done individually and I think it's awesome, but we need more of that. We need to get away from this idea of this consumeristic idea, as my friend Jeff Kemp would say. And we're just about consuming things as opposed to investment, and when you think about investing in people, especially, oh my goodness. I mean, when you get to our age and you've gone through, all that you've gone through with your own family and your own kids, and your grandkids start coming along and I've been blessed. I've got 2 great grandkids. And it is, oh my gosh, it is such a joy. And it really brings things into, I think, a higher level of perspective. But here's where we are today, ladies and gentlemen. If it's going to change, if there's going to be something, then it's going to be an individual response, self-responsibility, one person at a time. And, I call out, whether it's Al Sharpton or, Barack Obama and that or others, and there's been some people in the Black community that have given a lot and, been blessed. They're philanthropic, but I'm saying, wait a minute, maybe we need to think that through a little bit more strategically, because I see these communities, like in Chicago. I mean, every week, at the end of every week, I mean, if I was the mayor of Chicago, I wouldn't even want to come to work on Monday, because, every Monday you get this casualty list of who got shot, who's dead, the ages that are involved. I mean, a situation here, that's just heartbreaking. You got a twin who was stabbed by a young Black man for what? Over a seat under a tent. This is how crazy our society is getting right now. And I'm telling you, if we don't do something about it, it's only going to get worse. You got another young kid who's lost his mind, and he goes and he destroys the mansion of the governor of Pennsylvania. His family, they're asleep there. I mean, I don't know if you saw the footage of it. It's unbelievable. It's by the grace of God that Governor Shapiro and his family didn't perish in that. I don't know how, that they were able to escape it. I mean, it's just incredible, the damage that was done by this young man. See, and people are throwing things around and, oh, I want to kill the president, or I want to do this. And, kind of our society is, again, we've embraced death. We take death so casually. And these politicians that throw out language, oh, he's a Nazi, he's a fascist, and shame on you. Stop it. And I know a friend, a dear friend, I love her dearly. I respect her highly. And she says of Maxine Waters that she's really a very sweet person and a woman of faith. And I just want to scream. I go, how can that be? That kind of language is not representative of a woman or a man of faith. Okay. We need your help. We need everybody's help, all hands on deck right now to deal with this problem that we're dealing with. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democratic thing. This is the ridiculous thing of this two-party system that we have, is that we've got to get outside of that. And remember that we're Americans. The thing that we have in common here is this great country. We want it to be successful. People can, we can debate and talk about, well, are tariffs good? Are they bad? Everybody has an opinion about it. We'll know eventually. I don't think it's the kind of thing, right now that's just going to do on the absolute worst, that it could really blow up in our face. The best thing it could do is that we finally, on the world stage, for as long as we're able to do this, able to deal with these other countries in a fair and legitimate manner, and that we'd have open trade with one another and be able to help one another. And you imagine if we were all in that kind of mindset where it's free, it's fair to one another, what that could do for everybody involved. Wow. I mean, the upside of this thing is powerful. But again, I look at the politicians and they can't help themselves. It's like they're so politically minded that their brains are bruised. And it's almost like they're inoperative because they have such a fixed mindset of, oh, I hate Trump. Well, if you hate Trump, guess what? In translation, you hate 78 million, 80 million people that voted for him. Really? You're going to hate the rest of us because we thought, hey, look we like what this guy is saying. It makes sense. And we agree. And this is before tariffs. It's just saying, hey, let's do something about immigration. I mean, our country's getting ripped off. The gates are opened up. We got millions of people coming in here. And of course, we're finding out, hey, they're like, big surprise. You didn't think they were ripping us off? You didn't think that there were people participating and getting money out of the treasury and handing it out to illegals? And meanwhile, we have citizens, we have vets. I mean, the Democrats are always, oh, these poor vets and all that. I get, they're all deprived and everything. And they're the ones that are taking the money. They're depriving. They're the ones that are compromising the opportunities for veterans. They're the ones that are compromising opportunities for American citizens, for young people. They're doing this. And they want to act so innocent, like as if, it's all because of Donald Trump. Really. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to wake up. We've got an opportunity, as I said, to see the truth. And more people are starting to see it. And you may say, okay, what can I do about it? Well, first of all, as much as it would count on you for what area of responsibility you have, do something about it yourself. If you're getting a government check and you don't deserve it, you're not supposed to get it, let somebody know. It's not yours. That's stealing. And what happens with anything like that, anything that we do, steal, kill, destroy, it all has ramifications, consequences that maybe are not that all immediate. The Word of God says that sometimes because they're not all that immediate, We think that maybe God's not seeing, we're going to get away with it. No, you don't. And it's like that, like I said before, it's that Pennzoil commercial says you can pay me now or pay me later. Always, if you pay later, it's much more consequential, much more expensive and painful. And that's what some people are finding out. And so you want to address this issue. And right now, there's a bit of a reprieve to do this, to be able to come clean, be an honest citizen, be a citizen that contributes to the welfare of your fellow citizen who's going to work every day, raising a family, working their butts off, and holding up their end of the bargain. And as neighbors, all of us as neighbors must hold up our compact with our, with the Constitution, with our fellow citizen. We need each other. This is the whole idea of united we stand, divided we fall. See, and all of these things, this greed, this killing, this destroying, it divides us. And here we are, we got already too many young people dying because of fentanyl. We got anger out there, people thinking, oh, it's nothing to bring a knife and put it into somebody's heart. Really? And then you want to sit there and argue and say, have a case for self-defense. Oh, well, that's why we have the courts and they'll judge. But regardless, both families are forever changed from that incident. And to what level of change that will occur, we'll see. But no doubt right now, those families are forever changed because of that. And this is what we need to think about, ladies and gentlemen, is that, there are greater consequences. And there's also greater opportunity. Because, we may talk about the downside of it, but the upside, think about it. Think about having, free and fair relationships with our allies and these other governments that don't like us. But we're going to play on a level playing field. That's win-win all the way around. They'll be better for it. We here in America will be better for it. We won't have to rely on people who don't like us. I mean, we underestimate what China wants. You got to understand, they've made it clear, they want to be the number one power in the world. They want to be where America is. And they've been working for decades to come into our country, buy up land, steal our intellectual property, from our companies and corporations. And again, look at what opened the door. It's all about greed. Greed. And because it started with our government, I would say, our government saying, all right, we got to restrict, these businesses and regulate them to no end at extreme cost. And they made it untenable. They actually forced businesses out of our country, businesses that started here, that the idea was born of a constitutional government to be able to have an environment of free thought. I mean, where else would they come up with this idea and have the opportunity to do this? You think they'd be able to do it in China or Russia? Maybe a small percentage might. You'd have to be so, involved with the government that you might be able to do that. But I think the odds are against you. But here in America, the land of the free, home of the brave, you can think. You can dream big dreams. It's the land of opportunity. But here we chase that away. We push it off and send it to other countries that are expensive. And you wonder, what were these people thinking? That they would do that to us and leave us so vulnerable. Donald Trump, I mean, he's like going, wait a minute. If we go to war, we don't have any metal. We don't have any steel. We got to count on somebody who hates us and we're going to be at war with, say, hey, oh yeah, by the way, can we buy some steel from you? Because we need to build up, our ammunition. We need to build up ships and everything like that so we can kick your butt. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're real stupid. They're going to do that. Right. I mean, it's just common sense, but that seems to be out the door because people have sold themselves out because of greed. Greed has been an incredible motivator. And our country has been sold out, and we, the people, have been sold out. Think about it. $37 trillion in debt. It's unsustainable. And, and here they want to fuss over the budget and stuff like that. And, we got to, I mean, there's so much fraud and waste. I mean, I'd be curious at the end of the day, how much money they can actually bring back to maybe impact some of that debt and long-term. But I mean, the idea is that we're living beyond our means as a government, right? I mean, if you were in your own family, you'd look at this, you say, this is unsustainable. Can't do this. Kids are going to play in less soccer, and we want our daughter to be on the cheerleading team, but we just can't afford it. I mean, just reasonable common sense choices that we make. Not our government. Oh no. Hey, we got the people's backs we can write checks on. Keep it going. No, it's absurd. But look at, I think the people made it clear in this last election, but that's just one election. We got to continue to make it clear. We got the midterms coming up, and that time is coming at us fast. There's some critical decisions to be made here. And you got to think about, okay, you got to keep your eye on the ball. What is it that you want for this country? And who are the people that are going to support that end? Or are we going to fall back into old habits and bring people back who all but destroyed this country? I mean, do you realize how close we were? And it's an uphill battle, and God bless Donald Trump and all the people in the administration who've come together to solve this problem. This is a massive problem. This isn't a one-night fix. In our case, I mean, it's just like, you wake up one day and say, well, I got to lose some weight here. And, but you've been packing on the pounds, for decades. And you think, some Wegovy or, Ozempic is going to take care of that overnight. I don't think so. So. There's clear evidence that it doesn't. So it's not going to happen overnight. There is some pain and suffering that is going to be shared pain and suffering. And that's what a democratic republic is all about. And we need to understand the consequences of our vote, the consequences of our apathy, the consequences of being a low information, low participating voter in this democratic process. The democratic process, this democratic republic, has been in jeopardy more than anything else because we got lazy and we wanted to hear and have people tell us what to do. Well, hey, there's plenty of people tell you what to do. They'll tell you to wear a mask. They'll tell you to get a shot that may be dangerous for you down the road, may kill your kids down the road, whatever, they'll tell you what to do. Sure. And they don't know. They don't know diddly. I almost was going to quote my mother, but she had a very direct way of, and it had something to do with Shinola. Okay, so I'll let you finish it out. I love my mother. She was very charming, but she was also very bottom line about things. And whenever she spoke, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She didn't leave a lot in question. She would call it like it is. And if she was alive today, she would call this government like it is. And these are a bunch of Shinola containers, right? If you know what I'm talking about. That's what they've done. I'm talking about the administration and those even prior that participated, that did so for their own personal greed and gain, not interested in helping the American people, not interested in the Constitution. Well, look at that's a wrap for us. I want to thank you for sharing a part of your day with us. I wish you, again, for those that are celebrating, our Jewish friends, celebrating the Passover and their Holy Week, and for those of us who are looking forward to, Good Friday. And well, I'll tell you, it's a show on Fridays that we do on our regular show that I always look forward to, segment with Tony Campola. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming. Boy, what a great sermon that was given. And he has a great story behind it, and we'll be airing it on Friday on our daily show. And if you haven't heard that, tune in or Google it and listen to it for yourself, because that's the Christian experience, is that we think all is lost, and that, here it is. Jesus has been crucified, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the one who was to come in and, save the Jewish nation, save the world. And it didn't work out the way our human minds would say it would work out. It actually worked out better. But at the time, it was Friday, and people didn't know what to do. They were very depressed and thinking, oh my gosh, here, and especially some of his own disciples, that spent over 3 years with him, thinking, what happened? He was going to save us. And, here he gets crucified. And but here it was Friday, but as Tony Campola says, that's Friday. Hey, but Sunday's coming. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for being with us. May God bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you. May he be gracious unto you and give you his peace. God bless. Take care.